While in the attic, suddenly he saw an apparition of Amélie come from behind the chimney. He said she was wearing a rose-colored dress and told him to come towards him, and she was also speaking French. She wasn't laid to rest in the way she would have wanted to be, so possibly she's just confused and on the property like this. The staff at Frere say Amélie is a good ghost, means no harm. Rest in peace to the souls. Bonjour and bienvenue. Je m'appelle Ryan McKern. Thank you so much for joining me in the wicked webs we weave. Tonight, we go to Lafayette, Louisiana, for yet another haunted tale. Sit back and dwell in the proverbial darkness, my friends. And thank you for joining me in the wicked webs we weave. Located 2 hours west of New Orleans in Lafayette, Louisiana, the Frere House Bed and Breakfast has become an integral part of region folklore. This historic home turned B&B is so warm and inviting that the ghosts of former residents have decided to stick around. Locals pass down the story of mysterious death on the property of generations, leading to the Frere's house being known as one of the most haunted houses in southern Louisiana. A trip to New Orleans is simply not complete without a few ghost stories. Find out all about the city's haunts in my description below. The Frere's House Bed and Breakfast is said to be haunted by Amélie. The Frere's House Bed and Breakfast is said to be haunted by Amélie and Amélie Comeaux, who were family members of the original owner. Marie died on the property and Amélie lived in the house, although their stories often get mixed up and embellished. A male entity is also believed to haunt the house alongside them. Whoever it is that haunts the Frere's house is said to be friendly spirits, and while the current owners don't promote the fact that the place is haunted, staff are always eager to share the personal stories of ghostly tales. The Frere House Bed and Breakfast started out as private residence of Amélie Comeaux, a native of Lafayette, the son of Charles V. Comeaux and Ensign Benoit. Initially purchased the property by the house sits in 1886 from a relative named Amélie Benoit for $375. The original Frere house was completed in the 1890s, although additions were made over the years. Ford lived in the home with his wife, Aurelia Broussard, and his sister, Amélie Comeaux, who worked as a math teacher. Lafayette, Louisiana is a region known as Acadiana, or Cajun country, where the majority of French colonizers lived. As a result, the house was combined elements of Creole, French, colonial, and Anglo-American architecture. The two-story home is made of white clapboard, with dormer windows in the second floor and 6 symmetrical Doric columns lining the front porch. The house stayed in the Comeaux family until it was sold in 1952. After that, the house changed hands numerous times until it was purchased by a couple in the 1970s who did a full restoration of the home. It was subsequently turned into the Frere House and Bed and Breakfast. The B&B gets its name for the for himself. Frere is Mauritian Creole for little brother, which was the nickname given to one's four by his older sister, Amélie. The owners of the Frere house have reported strange happenings at the house for decades. Shortly after moving in, one owner came downstairs to find the piano playing by itself. Although initially spooked, she told the ghosts they could play whatever they wanted to, except when she and her children were home. Well, the ghosts apparently followed the rules, but went back to playing the piano at night once the house was converted into a bed and breakfast. The nighttime piano playing got so out of hand that it had to be removed from the home. Longtime innkeeper Amélie Comeaux says she had her first ghostly encounter at the Frere house when she first started working there at the age of 16. Comeaux had gotten into the bathroom, and when she tried to leave, the door was locked. This is strange since the door locked from the inside. Comeaux pulled, and the door to no avail. She eventually apologized to the spirits in French so they would understand. And the door miraculously opened. Another employee once saw a shadow figure walk up to the front door of the backyard cottage where she was cleaning. She watched the door open by itself, but the figure vanished before they could see who or what it was. Another time while at the B&B, an employee was whistling when she heard an unseen entity whistling back at her. Other hauntings include objects moving or falling for no reason, footsteps knocking, the sound of children laughing and playing. The ghostly happenings are regularly reported to both staff and guests. For the most well-known ghost haunting at the Frere house is Amélie Comeaux. There's been a legend passed down that Amélie was pushed or jumped into a well on the property after her husband and child died from yellow fever. The story goes to claim that the Catholic Church believed Amélie had died by suicide, so she could not be buried in the cemetery and was therefore buried on the property, although this tale makes for a good origin of the hauntings. There is no historical record to back up that claim. Amélie's ghost holds the distinction of being the only spirit in the house to show itself to a human. An exterminator was working in the attic when he saw the apparition of a woman in rose-colored dress appear near the chimney. She was later identified as Amélie Comeaux during a paranormal investigation. When they asked the question if she had taken her own life, Amélie answered no. Marie Comeaux. As it turns out, the origins of Amélie's phony story have had some basis, in fact. In 1827, about 7 years before the Frere's house was built, 12-year-old Marie Comeaux accidentally fell into the well on the property and drowned. A week later, her father died from yellow fever. It's believed that the well exists to this day, but has been covered up by the Frere house. The fact that Marie died on the property is likely that why her spirit haunts the house. She is a friendly but mischievous spirit. Guests sometimes awake at the night to feel as though they are being tucked into bed. This sweet gesture is usually followed by the feeling of someone tugging at their toes. This could be Marie's childish spirit trying to have some fun. During a paranormal investigation, either the name Amélie or Marie was recorded. Investigators disagreed on which name, since the two sound similar when spoken in a Creole accent. Defers house bed and breakfast has some of the friendliest and most well-documented ghosts in Louisiana. Legend and folklore is mysteriously wrapped in beauty, creativity, and the longing for more. A spiritual end and blossoming of new. I would like to thank ghosttour.com, KLFY, and the other resources for this article and this podcast that we created are in the description. Thank you again for joining me in the wicked webs we weave, mon ami. Once again, I'm your host, Ryan McKern. And until we meet again in a bed and breakfast near you for some mimosas and beignets, au revoir.